Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to celebrate a couple things and talk about a few things. Good morning, Dr. Jenny.
Celebration.
Celebrate good times. Come on.
Good morning.
So today, I've been debating on a couple of topics, and I was kind of just going to let Spirit guide me through it. And then when I walked in here, I seen your note because I was kind of looking. This kind of falls right into one of my subjects, the invalidating contrast that you brought up in the last podcast.
Okay.
And it kind of falls right into one of my topics that I've been working on myself, because I'm going through a little bit of some personal stuff, personal growth things that I'm working on.
Evolution, baby, yeah.
And there can be times in it that the contrast within everything can make you feel very uneasy. And you brought up the invalidating contrast last time, and making sure that when we are going through some belief stuff and some clearing things out of the way, that we take the moment to make sure we validate what we're doing and invalidate the stuff that we're not supposed to.
That's
validate.
not really how I meant it. But
well, I get it, but
I'll follow you for a minute.
It kind of fell right into my subject, because we as humans, here's my take on this, and I know you have a little bit of a different take on it. My take on this is we come here as energy. We take on this meat suit, as Dr. Jenny likes to call it. We energize this meat suit, kind of like, what was the red robot dude? The one you think is so sexy?
Iron Man.
Iron Man. That little energy thing in the middle of it activates this suit, and he becomes a robot, and he can fly around and shoot lasers out of his hands and all sorts of things. Well, we're kind of the same way. That's kind of my take on it, is we come here as energy. We energize this meat suit, and we live a human experience. And as we call it, the veil is there, placed over, so we don't bring the negative experiences in or whatever and into this life, because I believe that we don't just die and go to heaven. I believe we actually reincarnate into other things until our journey here is done. And when we go through life as human experiences, we have signed up for, either contractually or, we've been taught beliefs that creates an environment. When we go through things that feels like it's contrasting, it's bumping up against those beliefs, you have to stop and look at it, or at least I do, and try to validate what this is bumping up against and figure out why it's bumping up against it. Crickets.
Okay. That's a pretty meaty sandwich. Where do you want to start?
Well, wherever you want to start, whatever you're led to do.
Wow. I don't think I can cram all that in like an hour.
S-hole? You can't cram it into an S-hole? That's what we were just talking about this morning.
We started our pregame podcast getting his S-hole ready so that he wouldn't have heavy S's.
I have a tendency to speak lazy, and so my S's get a little crazy on the...
Ooh, you made a rhyme. Didn't even know it, poet.
I didn't know it. Validating and invalidating certain things of our journey here on Earth is a crucial part of our existence, I believe, and feeding the Akashic records with the experiences that we're supposed to do.
Well, I think the first point of clarification is the word validation and invalidation.
Okay.
The trick to all of it is that you don't want to invalidate anything.
Okay.
You want to validate everything, including the contrast, because the contrast has a purpose in and of itself that is very valuable. And when we invalidate the contrast by saying, oh, I don't want that, or I don't like it, or I'm going to ignore it, or whatever, that creates resistance.
Okay.
And resistance is kind of like a contracted, not letting things flow.
Okay.
And so you have to, if you want, give it all value.
Okay.
That's what validating means, basically, is that it all has value. And contrast has been defined kind of as a collective, as something that we don't necessarily enjoy experiencing. Therefore, it motivates us to do some work on changing it into something that is more pleasurable.
Yes.
The evolved way to look at that or go about that is understanding that the contrast can be just as pleasurable if you toggle your perspective about it.
Or you're as in like realizing that it's part of your journey.
Right. Realizing that it is a valid and valuable component of the whole mechanism of reality. You've got to have the contrast to help you better decide what it is that you want.
Fair.
If you don't know what white is, then you won't know what black is. If you don't know what nothingness is, then you won't know what something is.
Okay.
So even if you're experiencing in your reality a situation that seems very, very uncomfortable or very painful, realizing that it's serving a purpose and becoming easy about that instead of focusing so deeply on getting rid of the uncomfortableness, coming to a place inside of you that says, okay, this uncomfortableness, whether it be physical pain, mental pain, reality pain of being in a situation or circumstance that's awful as you view it, realizing that its purpose is to catapult you to the next level in the game of evolution, will help you become easier about the contrast.
More awakened.
And less restricted or less contracted.
Those can be
It is
tough.
It is a challenge.
It can be a challenge
Yeah.
for me anyway. Maybe not for other people, but for me, it can be a challenge at times. And because here's what's bringing it into my reality. And as you know, I am currently writing a book, and this book is about the evolution of a man.
Ooh, ah.
And it's about the times of, when I was younger, we were taught that, like I remember, I'll bring into play, there was a young man that lived down the street from me, actually down the dirt road out in the middle of nowhere in the trailer park. And I say down the street like it was some kind of suburb. And he was just not, he just wasn't one of those boys. He didn't fish, didn't hunt, didn't ride his bicycle around, and he got made fun of constantly. And they called him, a sissy boy, and he got picked on. And I finally stood up for him in junior high. But the part of that is where what the contrast that I'm facing in this experience is I've been getting these downloads on what needs to be in this book. And I've been trying to get that all worked out in my head. And there's some of this stuff that I'm being led to write about that I have zero experience with, because I was taught as a young child by society, because back in the day, we not only had, prejudice around, but we also had homophobia. We had, what was the Jewish thing? The Holocaust that was brought up. All these things where people judged each other constantly. And in this book, I'm writing about the evolution of a man, is about the contrast that you experience within a man's masculinity as we mature and age. And so you're talking about invalidating contrast is where the contrast within things that is bumping up against beliefs for me within this, I'd say not really beliefs, but old things that are popping up. And the contrast, I'm trying not to invalidate it because I'm trying to translate into...
AKA beliefs.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bumping up against the beliefs. And that some of those old beliefs that popped up because how we were taught makes me question what I'm writing because I'm not experiencing some of it. And so it's kind of a challenge, and that's where my mind's been. Like you were asking this morning what I was thinking about, and that's really where my mind's been, because I have 3 or 4 subjects in this book, or 3 chapters in this book that I am writing, that it talks about things I have never experienced.
Okay.
And so I just have to trust in Spirit to give me the proper downloads in all of it, and remove the beliefs out of the way, and not invalidate that contrast.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to get rid of the definitions of what the content of the book must be and realize that the writing of this book is a collective work of not just you, your human mind, but your higher self mind, your whole book writing council, so to speak, energetically and on a frequency level with higher self. There's going to be several guides that come in and give their input. And so having a definition that the book is only supposed to be about your personal experiences will limit what the book's capability is, because you're writing the book not just for yourself, but for others who, even on an unconscious level, are ready for that information. And so it doesn't have to be necessarily something that you've personally experienced. It just has to be where you're in a receiving mode to accept the information for those that don't have a mouth to verbalize, because they're wanting to add to the knowledge as well on a higher frequency platform. And so you're basically, in a manner of speaking, you're going to write about your personal experiences, but then you're also going to be a channel of information coming from other entities at higher frequencies that are going to provide you with additional information, because the collective has out there put in place that it's ready for additional information, upgrades, downloads, information, and all of that's going to be imbued, impregnated, input into the book.
That's a lot of explanation there, or description.
Well, I couldn't decide which word to use, so I said, spit them all out.
And so, like, here, I totally agree with you. The only thing I don't want to mislead about is, it's not that it's resistance for me to write the book. It's not resistance. I'm still writing what I get.
Of course.
But what the contrast I have is, some of these topics are in controversial subjects that I really know nothing about, other than what I get in download.
And what I'm trying to get you to see is that your human mind doesn't have to know anything about them, because there are members of your spiritual council that are going to give you that information.
I agree with you.
And so you don't have to know anything about them.
But my human still wants to be a butthead sometimes.
Well, spank that monkey, baby.
Hey, we had that podcast.
Yes, we did.
So within this genre of topics that we have,
yeah,
is this bump up against belief thing that, man, your human says, oh, come on, you don't need to write that, or, you don't need to work on that, and it's a really, it can be a tough road sometimes to push through it spiritually when your human is fighting it, giving you that resistance that you speak of, because it's human. Resistance is human. I know that.
So what do you do about it?
I just keep pushing.
What are the steps?
I don't really have any steps. That's what I've been working on. I have never experienced it on this level. I guess that's where I'm trying to get. I've not really been a channeler of anything that I ever know, unless it's just part of my energetic readings that I do, maybe in a form of channeling. But I don't know that I've ever could identify myself as a channeler. And so for me to do it, I'm facing this human resistance in this, and I just keep pushing through it. And you just asked me for my steps, and I really don't have none. Cue Dr. Jenny.
Well, everyone channels. They just don't realize they do. They don't realize that that's what the verbiage, the English language word is for what we do. Whenever you're sitting in some sort of meditation, whatever that looks like. If you're just sitting peacefully, if you've actually got your arms and legs folded, singing bowls, whatever your meditation process looks like, you're channeling information from your higher self. When you listen to your intuitive guidance, that's a form of channeling information from your intuitive self. Channeling, by definition of Dr. Jenny, not necessarily the Webster Dictionary, is opening yourself completely and being receptive to receive information in many different formats from many different places.
So
it doesn't have to be verbal commentary. It can be visions. It can be telepathic information. It could be videos.
Let me touch on that a minute.
Okay.
Because all of my life, and you've heard me say this before, is I have had this ability to do things that I've never been taught.
Yes.
And I've always identified that as a way that I'm just, so to speak, tapping into the Akashic records and get showed and told how to do it. It's happened all of my life. There's stuff I've never been taught that I can just do. And I still don't know to this day. Well, I do know now, but back then when I was doing it, first of all, I didn't identify it because I never stopped when I was younger and say, how the heck did I know to do that? Because you're just going through life then. And now I've gotten older, you start identifying like, wow, I was doing things that I had zero clue about. I really didn't have any idea.
Yeah, that's a form of channeling. You're opening yourself completely and totally without any resistance to the information that's coming in, with no blocks, no resistance, no expectation of the outcome, no insistence on what it has to look like. And so the information comes in very clearly. It's easier to do it as a child because we've not been taught any kind of beliefs or definitions yet. And then when we start to go to school, we get taught kind of this as an example. Information is accurate and correct if it comes out of a book from a teacher. So any other information that comes from a different place or a parental person. And so then if information comes from a different place that's not from those necessarily two main places, then it's an unusual place, and we subconsciously get taught that it's invalid information and we can't trust it or it's not accurate. As we grow up, then what happens? We get into our adulthood. We decide we're going to live our own life. I'm going to sleep late and I'm going to go to bed late and I'm going to party and do what I want to haul with my parents.
I never partied.
Whatever. And that rebellious state that we go through is a large permission slip to dump a bunch of junk and let the question come in of, wait a minute, I was doing this back, and you kind of go through a remembrance. Wait a minute, I was doing this back when I was a kid before I had really any definitions or beliefs in the way. And so I know I have the ability to do it. I just don't know what to call it or where the information's coming from. But it's okay. Nothing bad happened from it. It's good stuff. And so I'm going to revalidate this information and be curious about where it's coming from. It's part of the awakening state.
Okay.
But that still is a form of channeling.
Yes, I never identified it as that growing up at all. And the part of it for me that when I'm going through this research and getting these downloads for this book, and I'm because that's really what I'm doing. I'm kind of researching things. I'm bouncing off beliefs and going through the steps is, I didn't really think about it, what you just said until you just said it, is perhaps that is where that's come. Because I trust physical actions of me going and doing something I don't know how to do because I'm going to know how to do it. I don't know how, I just know how. And trusting the fact that the information that I'm getting, that I'm translating into this book, that's a different world for me.
But it's not really.
Well,
when you go build something,
mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little snippet. of our life. I come up with some harebrained idea or some design project. We're redoing our patio. And he constructs it. He figures out how to make it so on the construction side of things. And we do that in many aspects of our life. I come up with hey, I want to do this.
She calls herself design and I'm construction.
And he'll ask me a question of, well, do you think I should do this or run it on battery? I'm like, not construction, design. I got no information.
That's your problem to solve.
And so what happens is you take it and you figure out how to make it so.
I really don't. I don't figure anything out. I just go do it and the information comes to me.
Exactly. Because you're used to that frequency. You expect the knowledge to be there. You trust that the knowledge will be there when you need it.
Yeah, I do. 100%.
And you don't even give it a second thought because it's shown up consistently time and time again. So what it does is it feeds my seeing it is believing it mentality.
Yeah, right.
Because every time that you go into that space when you're building something that's very methodical and very healing for you, it's your form of meditation.
Oh, yeah.
You trust that 100% without a shadow of a doubt.
You've heard me say it. There's nothing I can't do.
And there's never, ever a time when you question the channeling of that information or whether you can or whether you can't.
Right.
You just expect the knowledge to be there. You expect that doorway to be open. You walk through the doorway. You go get the information off the shelf energetically, and you access the information and you make it happen. It's just that simple.
That's exactly one of the beliefs I'm working through, because when I was younger, I was asked to do something, and I don't remember who was there with me, and I told somebody, yeah, I can do that for you, not a big deal. And my dad looked me dead in the eyes like, why are you telling him you can do that? You've never done that before. And so it came off as I was being dishonest, which created the belief.
Oh.
And so that's one of the beliefs I'm working on.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can do anything that I go try to do. The example, the newest example is that ice machine that we just tore apart. I have never torn one down like that.
Right.
We tore it down, cleaned it, put it back together, and it works better than it did when it was new.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I was taught to telling people that, oh yeah, I can do something when you don't really have the experience to do it is dishonest. And, my Uncle Gary called it being a con man. And really, it's just faith in my ability to just know how to do something.
To access the information. To channel the information.
And
so maybe if we have this conversation, it'll help you, not only you, but others. Mm-hmm. Because what you're experiencing is a type of, what would be the best verbal word? Hold on.
Channel that information.
I'm looking for the best word. This is an example of the compartmentalization that happens between the aspects of ourself.
Here we go.
The human mind, the intuitive or the higher self mind, and the energetic mind. When you compartmentalize, then you're not identifying those other two compartments as part of you. And so identifying them as separate entities makes the information that come through feel like it's coming from someone else or something else and not a part of you. So when you bring yourself back together as a whole person and you realize those are aspects of you, you've sliced yourself into three components, and you need to thin the veil between those components and reunite self. Okay. Then it's easier to understand that when you're accessing that information, you're part of the all that is, and that information is just as much yours as it is anyone else's. And just because it came out of their human mouth first doesn't mean that it's not your information as well, because we collectively are part of all that is.
Okay, I get that. I totally understand it. But
so it's not a lie.
No, it's not really.
There's
a lie.
An aspect of you on a big, grander scheme of things that experienced that.
Oh, I agree.
You were just in a different frequency. You were in a different type of suit. You were a different character when you experienced it.
I totally agree with you. And that's where the bump up against belief things are coming into play and all this that I've been working on for the last couple of days. Because just one of the examples is what I just told you I remember my Uncle Gary flat out calling me, "Why are you conning people? You don't know how to work on a motorcycle, or whatever."
And so what'd you do?
I wouldn't fix it.
And so then what did you have a conversation with him afterwards?
No, they never took it back. Those kind of things. It's just because they're so focused that they are right that they forget to be humble when they're wrong.
Right.
And
that's their journey, though.
I agree. Totally agree. And here's where another thing that comes into play.
But what did you do with the bump up against spot then?
I haven't done anything with it yet. And this is why.
Okay.
Because something that I have learned since, by the way, I have the best wife in the world. And she allows me to be me all the time. And I love that about her. And I love that about us. And
what is it that you want?
I don't want anything, but going to talk about what is, you taught me that life is a script. We have written this script before we came here.
Right.
And so the reason why I haven't done anything with those kind of things in my belief system is because what if I'm not supposed to, because that's part of my script.
Okay.
And so that's where the invalidation part comes in for me.
Okay, so let me stop you there, because when you have a question like that pops up, that is a hard indicator that you have a definition or you have a belief that is ready to be looked at.
I agree.
Because if not, then that question would never pop up.
Right, which is what I've been working on. That's what I've been looking at.
When higher self gives you information that there is never a question that pops up. What makes the questions pop up, like you just said, am I supposed to change this? Am I not? That's your belief mechanism trying to hang on for dear life.
Okay.
And so the question would be, what do I choose to believe to be true to make that question pop up? Why am I not believing 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt that the information to release this is true and accurate? Why am I questioning that? And then wait for the answer, because that's a full-on red arrow pointing at whoop, 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 whoop. Belief ready to be file 13. He's messing with his buttons that are not programmed yet.
Are you my strawberry baby?
Yes.
That's what
Danger, Will Robinson.
I was looking for the air horn right there. Wow, that's a terrible sound timing. But I mean, I totally understand, and that's where my confusion comes in. And I appreciate the clarity, because when I stop and really and think about all of this stuff that I've went through, because man, this book is really making me look at me.
That's what it was made for.
And it is very much, I think, thinning my veil.
Of course.
And I, by the way, I know I said this, but I do appreciate your patience through all this, because you've been asking me the last couple of days. You've been looking at me like, okay, what's going on in your world?
Only because I love to see the growth and the evolution. I love, my passion, as well as I do, my passion is having these conversations. I could literally sit here on this microphone and talk all day long about these rabbit hole topics. I could go on and on for days. And so watching anyone, and especially you, because you're my favorite human.
You're my favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm your favorite?
Watching you go through an evolution is exciting and fun to me. And so I wait patiently on bated breath for you to share the epiphanal moments or the challenges or the aspects of your mystery story that you're experiencing. I wait patiently for it.
Right. And because, it's
like reading a book and waiting for the next chapter.
Yeah, it's been really, especially the last couple of days, it's been really weighing on me. And my expansion within it is quite large. Like, I mean, I've been looking at things all the way down to when my grandfather moved down in front of us when I was a kid, and he made the comment he made the comment when I asked him, "What are you doing?" or something. I don't remember. He said, "Oh, I'm just moving down here with all you rednecks." And to me, I didn't realize that being being called redneck was supposed to be
a derogatory term.
A derogatory term.
Yeah.
Or condescending, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Because I always looked at a redneck because I was told by the guy that owned the fish farm across the highway from me that a redneck was a farmer. Right. Because they always got sunburnt necks because they'd be riding their tractor all day.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it as a positive thing. These guys are working hard. They're doing the thing. They're growing vegetables for us to eat and those kind of things. And never once did it cross my mind when I was younger that redneck was a negative.
I think probably at one point that was it probably started out as a positive term.
Probably did.
And then it just evolved into negativism.
And I remember one time when I asked, I don't even remember who I asked. It may have been my football coach. I said, why does everybody call everybody rednecks around here? And he said, because rednecks are uneducated.
Yeah. They can't do anything but work on the farm.
They can't do anything but farm work.
They can't do anything but work in the oil fields.
He said back in the day, the rednecks.
They're not smart enough.
Well, they call the oil field people something else. What do they call them?
Where I came up, it was redneck.
Roughnecks. They call them roughnecks.
Yeah, roughneck, redneck.
Yeah.
All kind of.
But I remember, I think it was Coach Foster that said this, but he said, well, it's because they're not educated. They never went to school. All they did was work on the farm all their life, and I asked him, I'm like, when did that happen? Because they were probably smarter than we are. And he said, well, you're talking about centuries ago, that this term has started. And I actually tried to look it up. And of course, Google, that's just somebody's input information in there because it always.
Not necessarily.
But I mean,
that's a way for your higher self to communicate with you.
Okay. But that's the kind of the depth of where I'm going with all of this stuff, and where my mind has been constantly binging, boom, 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 back and forth on this download for this book, because I am finishing this book hopefully by, my goal is to have it done by January 15th or 20th of next year, and if I get it done quicker, great. If I don't, I don't. But right now, I'm kind of in that spot of logging everything where it goes and trying to go through some experiences of some things and clearing some beliefs and opening that door for that veil to thin a little more and expand as much as I can, because I think this book is going to be very enlightening to humans.
It's already been very enlightening to you.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. It really stops and makes you look at a lot of things that we were taught, especially men my age.
Yeah.
That we were taught as younger, in our younger generations of things, because we're kind of in that bubble to where, just to give one idea is when we were kids, I don't know about you, but when we were kids, racial slurs and being discriminatory towards different races was a normal everyday thing.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was.
I don't know.
It was a form of discipline. It was a form of joking, kidding around. Like it was the norm.
Right.
We had to modify our behavior and interaction tremendously when the politically correct era came along.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we were going through all this prejudicial stuff, and then we were latchkey kids on top of that, because we were in that era where one income families couldn't make it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how many times I would spend these days alone. And then I remember when I was probably 10, I would go to work with my mom in the summer times, and I would go across the street to the rec center.
Yeah.
And I would play basketball all day long.
Yeah.
And I was the only non-black on the floor.
Yeah.
And I got my family. Holy cow. It was insane. The stuff that they would say to me.
Yeah.
And I would, at lunchtime, I'd run across the street because my mom ran a restaurant. I would run across the street and I would eat, and I'd go right back, and I'd spend all day until she got off. And man, I enjoyed myself doing that.
Yeah.
I went into it very hesitant the first time I went to go do that. I remember sitting on the bleachers for 2 or 3 weeks. Nobody ever picked me up to play. When they would run up down the court, when they were on the right side of the court, I'd go shoot on the left side. And I was very, very nervous to interject myself because of my teachings.
Yeah.
Because of what I was taught.
Right.
And when I actually interjected myself into it, I got to know every one of these people very, very well for a good number of years. I would go in the spring, I would go in the fall during your fall break, and I'd go during the summers, and I got to know every one of these guys really, really well. And everything I had been taught was a freaking lie.
That's right.
It was a lie. I mean, they would stand up for me, and I got one of the guys actually took me to his house in the AKA the ghetto,
Yeah.
And I remember it, and it's crazy because it was both directions.
So his family did the same thing to him.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh,
and so we go walking up on the porch, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come to my house for dinner?" Because my mom was working nights that night.
Yeah.
And I snuck off with him to go to his house. My parents didn't, nobody knew.
I don't think our parents ever really kept up with us.
No.
I mean, because there were several times I was running around with my friends.
Oh, yeah.
And my parents never had a clue what we were doing.
No. You know how many times I drove 40 miles away on my motorcycle? My parents never knew it.
I think that I bring it up because I don't think it's even counted as sneaking off.
Yeah.
We just did what we did. That was just norm.
And so I walk up on this front porch with him, and he said, hey, what did he call his mom? I don't remember. He called his mom something, and he said, this is James, and I invited him over for dinner. And she looked at me, she looked at him, and she said, "Why are you bringing him to my house?" and so here we are, 2 kids. We were like 11, 12.
Yeah.
And we're stuck in the middle
of generational controversy.
I didn't care if that man was purple.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
Right.
I was just hanging out. We were having a good time, man. We became tight. I mean,
did she make you eat on the porch?
No, we left. He shut the door. He said, "Mom, why you got to be that way?" And he slams the door. And we walk off, and we went down to the Dairy Queen. Actually, he went in the house, stole money out of his mom's purse, and then we went to the Dairy Queen. We went to the Dairy Queen and sat on the outside patio. And I said, "Man," we were having this very deep conversation for an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, your parents are just like mine." He said, "Yeah, I know. It's kind of stupid." Because his name was Peebo. That was what everybody called him. Peebo. His name was Paul Boone. And I was like, "Peebo, why?" I never once thought for a moment at any given moment that I was in danger, or that you were going to do something bad to me.
Yeah. But
yet I was taught that was going to happen.
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, I know. And not once did you ever call me the N-word."
Right.
And he said, "But you can, because you are." He said, "You are my,
Right.
And I was like, we were friends forever until he got caught up in the drug game and the gang, because his dad was a gang member. He got caught up in the gangs and ended up in prison, and dead. But anyway, so it was it was a very epiphanal moment. That's what some of those beliefs that are popping up in this book writing for me, that's bumping up against some things that I'm having to clear out of the way, because I have never been that guy that sees color. And I've never been that guy that sees sexuality. I've never been that guy that sees women as a tool. I have been that guy that has that caveman mentality to, be a provider, be a protector, be a procreator, to be me within the scenario that I'm in.
Mm.
Wow, I just got on the soapbox, didn't I?
Hey, it's all good.
Yeah, and so here I am, going through some of these old beliefs that I validated as real back in the day.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it, they didn't serve any purpose. Why did I agree with these things? They served no purpose in my life, and still have to this day.
Yeah, they served a purpose. You may just not know what it is yet.
Okay, well, if it served a purpose, then that's fine. But
there is nothing that doesn't serve a purpose in the whole divine all that is. Every puzzle has a place, and every place has a puzzle piece.
But and so to finish up that topic or that thought is here I was, I'm going through these beliefs and these processes and these patterns that I have created over the years, and removing these things that I had already validated once and turning them invalid and getting rid of them.
He's here, by the way.
Who's here? Oh, Paul?
Yeah.
Peebo, what's up?
Makes sense. He didn't introduce himself at first, and I was like, okay, not the time, not the place, about to go on radio. Don't know who you are, don't know what you want, but you're going to have to wait.
Yeah, he's I tell you, he's
and so when you said
funny.
that, it was like, oh, okay. Well,
So,
welcome. Have a seat. You want the mic?
Peebo. Funny story about Peebo. He had this huge
He
afro.
has on a purple.
He must have changed because he always wore blue.
It's purple.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's faded or something.
I don't know.
He had this huge afro. I mean, it was massive. He had been going, never cut his hair. That's what he said. He had never cut his hair. And one day I took him across the street to go eat with me at lunch to my mom's restaurant. And we come walking in, or actually we go walking across the street, and we're across the street, he's pulling his hair down and putting it into this like knot tie thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "What are you doing, man?" And he said, "Well, I put this down because it freaks all the white folk out." I'm like, because he had a pick in it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What does your hair freak people out? What?" He said, "I don't know either." And but anyway, he said, "My mom always told me I had to." And so we go across the street, and he's got his hair pulled back, and we walk up to the counter. I'm like, "Mom, I'm here to eat lunch," and she did the same thing his mom did to me. Why'd you bring him over here? I was like, "That's not
Because
cool."
we're hungry.
Because we're hungry, Mom. What are you doing? Go sit down. I'll bring it out in a minute. That's all that was really ever said about it. But anyway, so I don't know why I'm on this kick, but you tell Peebo I said, "Hey, what's up, dog?"
You just did.
Love you, man. So anyway, I'm gonna forego my conversation now over to you and let you explain what I just talked about.
What in tarnation do you want me to do with that bloody mess?
Well, you were giving me steps, remember? And then I got on
to do what?
Then I got on this soapbox because that belief system was very deep in this book for me.
Yeah,
And
obviously.
and and I want people to understand. First of all, I think that if you listen to this podcast, you need to really understand this, that no matter how it feels, because man, I've been really uncomfortable in the last couple of days, going through some things. No matter how it feels, on the other side, it feels better.
Yeah, that's how it always is.
It's been a crazy couple of days for me.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to stay focused on doing the things we're supposed to, on my other responsibilities, my human responsibilities, my spiritual responsibilities, my husbandly responsibilities, trying to keep up with everything while working all this in my mind.
Yeah.
It's funny because me keeping up with those responsibilities gives me that time to work on that stuff mentally. And that's why I bury myself in work sometimes.
By design.
Because that's just how I operate. That is, like you said, that is my meditation
a
spot.
reality where you can stay in almost a constant state of meditation.
That's correct. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, I just continue working and bury myself in it.
Exactly.
Because I go through the motions because I really think what I've identified is when I'm doing those kind of things, my work, I just tap into the records and keep right on flowing. And I don't even have to think. And then I can take my human brain and put it in place and let it work through the spiritual processes that I'm working on. But anyway.
What a magnificent design you've created.
I know, right? It works quite well.
Your higher self is amazing.
You tell people he can't cross me over. He tried.
He said, "I can on the court."
Nope. And it was funny because when we first met, he was taller than me. And as I grew up, I was taller than him.
Not because of his hair.
No, his hair. I think he did that to scare. I don't know why. Well, I know why he did that, because when you're playing basketball and his hair is going all over the place, it's very distracting.
Yes, that's what he just said. It's a distraction, man.
You know what the funny part about it is he is the whitest talking black dude I ever met. He was. He didn't fit the mold. That But he ended up falling into the mold, which I should kick his butt for it.
It was part of his journey.
Yeah, I get it. I know. But anyway, so the steps by which I'm going through this, and like I said, I want people to understand that, yeah, it kind of feels weird, but coming out the other side feels better. And sometimes it can go on for days. And it just kind of makes you look around a little bit like, is this right? Because it shouldn't be this long.
But that's a definition.
It is. You're right. That's the part I was missing that you said a while ago was definitions. You're right. Because when I get resistance, it's a definition that I need to change.
Right.
Anyway. Okay. I'm out. See you later.
Drop the mic. Okay. Very well.
Yeah,
so,
that was
to recap then for our listeners, if they've not processed to the point that you're at, could you give them some pointers on some active steps they might try that help them navigate through getting to that point?
You know, I think I can. A couple of steps anyway. Because I'm still not complete within any either.
So the first step always is coming to the awareness that there's something ready to come up and be looked at.
Well, no. So let me clarify.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm understanding your question.
Okay.
Because within this system, my awareness was already there. And so I'm getting these downloads for this book, and I'm aware of these downloads, and I'm aware of the contrast within the downloads. And so what I had to do was tell myself that no matter how you feel humanly, it is okay to look at these beliefs.
Yep.
And it is okay to stop and say, race should have never existed in this world.
Okay.
And, that's just one example. And so making it okay to feel better about it being okay, because there are old beliefs in there. It's the first step for me.
Okay.
Because I was already aware.
Okay.
But
just the simple statement of race should have never been in existence is invalidating part of the contrast that brought us to an evolved place as a society, as a group, as a collective.
I agree. Well, I totally agree with that.
Race had to be there.
I agree. I mean, everything that we've been through had to be there. Yeah. For evolution.
It would not, if it wasn't there, it would not have given you the opportunity to experience the racial contrast, bringing you to the evolved state of learning that labels, identity, how important are they really?
How about the label of minority? Why don't we just keep people suppressed, calling them a minority?
Some people choose to experience that journey.
I agree.
You have to realize on a rabbit hole level, in a not even a multiverse anymore, a Billiverse.
What?
A Googleverse. What's bigger than a billion?
A billion?
Yeah. A Ziggleverse. We're going to call it a Ziggleverse.
What did I hear the other day? I heard that it was supposed to be 400 billion is called, or something like that.
We're going to call it a Ziggleverse. That means more universes.
Cotillion. It was one in a cotillion was one that I was watching one of those crime shows, and that was the odds of this guy's DNA test being different.
One in a cotillion.
One in a cotillion, which is supposed to be like.
I feel like there's a Z word that's even bigger than that.
Oh, there might be, but.
A Ziggleverse.
A Ziggleverse.
Anyway.
Is that the guy that went like this?
No, that's Ziggy.
Oh, my bad.
Ziggleverse is more universes than you can even conceptualize.
Okay.
And every entity has scripts they want to play out for their evolution and their growth. And so it has to be. Every single piece of contrast has to be there in order for everyone to play out their scripts that they want to experience.
I agree.
On a simultaneous level.
And how about the power of thought? It's crazy. The power of your thought is so astronomically huge.
It is.
And it can make you feel good. It can make you feel bad. It can make others feel good, others feel bad. And which is I'm about to do a seminar on, by the way. But identification of all of this for me, as I'm going through this book is very awakening.
Yay. I love it.
So
Feels good.
anyway, I feel complete.
Did you finish your steps?
Oh, no. Well, so I can, yes.
Listeners, what would you like to hear? Some step-by-step actions that you can try?
So being aware, you're right. If you're not aware already of it, of what's going on, the beliefs, the patterns, the programs, the uneasy feeling within you, AKA, like I heard on the thing I was watching this morning, there was one gentleman that was doing a seminar on anxiety and how anxiety is part of a human response to an uneasy belief, or something like that, how he worded it. Like the belief is not good, so it creates anxiety.
Yeah. And the trip up point about anxiety is the frequency that it puts out. We as a society sometimes confuse it with excitement. So then that leaves us living in a loophole of constant anxiety.
And so the next step that I had to go through on that is I was already aware. So step one would be bringing it to your awareness. Yeah. Step two is making it okay to realize that those old beliefs are not beneficial anymore.
To you.
To me at the time. And step three was allowing the emotional part of it to be okay.
Yeah.
Because like I've noticed some of the things is I've got anger, I've got sadness, I've got, like you said to me yesterday, you just seem like you're not right or something. A little bit of anguish, a little bit of angst, a little bit of anxiety. I went through this gauntlet of emotions, and like you said, the emotional guidance system tells us when we're right and wrong, and making the emotional part of it okay. And then the step for me, the next step on that I would say is working so well for me is to really understand that belief is not beneficial, to have a full understanding of it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if you have to do research, if you have to meditate, if you have to talk to your special person like I do with you, then it gives me the ability to really understand that belief and why it's not beneficial. And then the last step of it is being okay with letting it go.
Right. Understanding that when you let it go, nothing bad's going to happen.
Right. I agree.
Because sometimes that mechanism, that belief system mechanism, will feed you a little monkey mind thing that if you let it go, something bad's going to happen if you're not careful. And so getting to that place of understanding that nothing bad is going to happen. Because a belief system, whether it's beneficial or not, is designed to try and make itself true.
Because,
don't fall for the trickery.
Having a greater understanding of it for me allowed me to not let my emotions invalidate my process.
Yeah.
Because what I'm going through, when you get into that emotion where you're angry about something or you're sad about something, it will make you want to invalidate and say, no, I'm not going to do this.
Right, because you don't want to experience the emotion.
Right. You don't want to experience the contrast of the belief removal. And it has to be identified and okay.
Yeah, because that is a key component of the belief system mechanism, is to hang on to itself as long as it can, always making itself true. And if you're getting close to discovering the knowledge that is going to give you the power to release it and redefine it, your belief system is going to kick into overdrive if it's trying desperately to hang on to something. And it will for just a second, if you're not careful. It'll feed you some nonsense of, oh my God, if you let go of this.
Right.
Then isn't it easier to have that concept that maybe it is true, maybe it isn't. But if you do this, then you're for sure going to have to embrace it's not real. There is no doubt I can nibble on.
Right.
It is for sure real. It is not real. It's almost like it wants you to feed on the doubt that it creates as a more comfortable place to be, because once you've either solved the mystery, so to speak, and said, okay, yeah, you know what, this is true and I'm going to hang on to it, or you know what, no, this is not true and I'm going to let go of it, then it's almost like it becomes concrete and irreversible, whereas your belief system or your monkey mind will want you to hang on to, wouldn't it be better to just not know either way? That way you can't get stuck in the concrete
Yeah, totally.
side of one side or the other.
And that's very easy to do.
It'll trick you up.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. So you got to stay aware of it.
Not to be confused with trip you up.
And so, and another part of that is that I say, it's kind of just all popping in what I've been working on.
Yeah.
Is I'm having to go through these beliefs and not worry about, because what popped up is, well, if I do this, Jenny's gonna say this, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen, or somebody's going to say this, and and I have to remove that fear because I don't care what my wife thinks. I don't, and when it comes to this, because this is my journey within our journey together.
That's right. Not her bubble, not her business.
And no matter who it is, and I love you, and we're madly in love with each other, but I still have to make it okay for me to work through the processes.
Of course.
And
I am actually just an illusion that you created to help you. I don't really even exist.
You're a hologram.
I am. I'm a hologram. Everyone has their own play that they've created, and the characters that are in that play, no matter whether it's a wife, a child, a stranger on the street, is literally a virtual hologram of the reality that you've created. That person doesn't even exist. Get your carrot sandwiches, people. You've created this aspect of me. I'm not physically sitting here. I am a hologram that you've created that is acting out my part in the play. And so it's okay to it doesn't have to be my business. It doesn't have to be my bubble. It's okay to have your own experience within the experience.
I was making a note for the next podcast.
If you want to know that on a deeper level, watch the movie. What was that movie Brad Pitt did? They dream inside the dream inside the dream.
Yeah, we just watched that not very long ago.
That is a very good descriptive movie on kind of how reality is.
What was that movie?
We're actually spirits. I don't know why you think about it. I'll break it down right quick. We're a spiritual being having a dream that we're a human. And sometimes as a human, we have dreams that we're a spiritual being. It says dream within a dream with a dream. So when we proverbial die, kick the bucket, croak,
It's really just in a dream.
it's just you waking up in your spiritual form saying, oh, wow, that was such a weird dream.
You're talking about the movie where he kept bouncing back to the same place,
Yeah,
right?
and they had that.
Yeah. What was the name of it?
It's like, it starts with an I, doesn't it? Interstellar.
Interstellar. That's it. No, is it?
No, it's not Interstellar. Are we supposed to be even plugging that? What's
Probably
the
not.
rules?
There's no rules on it.
Oh.
We're a podcast. We're copyrighted, so because we fancy.
We are so fancy.
Anyway, hey.
Okay, somebody look that up in the audience. What is the name of that movie with Brad Pitt?
Yeah, put it in the comments. Okay, I feel complete. Do you feel complete?
Let me just fill the collective right quick to make sure.
Do you want to squeeze it?
There's want to squeeze what?
You
Thank
said the
God we're not video. Put that thing away, man. I feel like I don't feel complete for some reason.
Okay.
I mean, I know you feel complete.
So yeah, so it's your mic, because I don't even know. I just went to a complete blank.
Because it's not the information you need anymore.
Okay. Shoot away, girlfriend.
And it feels like to me there is a desire for a little bit more detailed possible steps to get from one point to the other, and some techniques. So let's revisit that and see how I feel after I do that. Okay, so when you are having a reality that is not necessarily altogether comfortable, the key thing to remember is that what we call contrast, the unpleasant experience, it does serve a purpose. It serves a purpose to help us better understand what we would like to have. And what happens in those situations, We will behave in a certain way when a circumstance or an event presents itself to us with an emotion. If we don't like the emotion that we experienced, it's a good time to become aware that we don't necessarily like that emotion and that we are searching for improvement so that we can feel better.
Okay.
So like if a circumstance happens and I get angry about it, and I don't necessarily want to be angry about it, then that's an opportunity to say, okay, what belief would I have to choose to be true in order for me to experience the emotion of anger around this topic or any topics like that? And you wait for that information to come up, and it will come up in whatever ways is best for you and your higher self. Your higher self knows all about you. And that could be through a book falling off of the shelf. That could be a podcast that comes across that rings your bell. It could be a YouTube video. It could be a stranger walking across your path, making a sentence that brings you to an epiphanal moment. The information can come in many different ways. It can come in telepathically where you're just like, oh, while you're in a meditative state. It could come in through a commercial on TV. Just being open and receptive. Like you said, Google is nothing but just somebody else's opinion and it has no value. It could come in on Google. Higher self knows how to take the different types of components that bring us information and utilize them in a way that will get your attention, whoever you are. And so that information will come in and it will ring your bell, so to speak.
Ding, ding.
Once you've had your bell rung and the belief appears, at that point, then it's your opportunity to look at that belief and decide, how am I perceiving that? Where did it stem from? And do I feel like it still is beneficial? Parts of it are beneficial, parts of it are not. And do I want to restructure it? Do I want to modify it? Do I want to get rid of it? Do I want to redefine it? And those are all choices that you get to make. And what I would recommend is not trying to make those decisions from your human mind. Ask for your guidance from your higher self, or like me, I have a counsel at all times. Go into your counsel state, your meditative state, your whatever place that you go into, and ask for the information and the guidance and let that be okay. You don't humanly always have to come up with the answers. Let your counsel help you. It's such an easier journey. That's what they're there for. It's kind of, I relate it to, if I am the lead character in a play, the director, the play is there as a support resource to guide and direct you along the way of the play. If you forget your lines, there's somebody there that is ready to give you the lines. And so you're not having to put together the whole play. You find other characters, that humans that will play the other characters. You're not having to run back and change clothes so you can be this character or that character or whatever. Reality is the same way. Your higher self, your counsel, your guides, angels, whatever you're working with, whatever type of entity you're working with, that's what they're there for. And so let them give you the information. Yes, get rid of that. Yes, restructure it. Okay, if restructuring it is the key, then guide me on the best structure that I can put in place that will be of the highest and best benefit to myself. And then release the expectations of it having to look and be a certain way or it doesn't work. That's the aspect that trips people up, is having an expectation or a viewpoint that it must look a certain way humanly or I'm doing something wrong. If we can get to a place where we can let go of that.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, what was missing in my steps, because that's what I meant by being open.
Yeah. If you can get to a place where You are literally following your best feeling place without any expectation or judgment of the outcome.
Not only judgment of what you judge yourself, but what you think other will judge you of.
Or how you think that it's supposed to play out.
Yes. Agreed.
Humanly.
Totally agree.
And let it play out the way that, oh, it's taken too long. I must have done something wrong. It's taken too long. Oh my gosh, I've gone right and I should have gone left. I've messed it all up. I'm
a messer-upper.
Those are programs that you're running based on beliefs and patterns that are flubbing you up. It's the very statement, releasing all of that, getting to a place of just being open to it being whatever it is what we mean by that, what I mean by that. Releasing the judgment of it, releasing the criticism of whatever it is that you're working on, and just knowing that it's going to happen the way that it's meant to happen in the perfect timing. And you thinking that it's taking too long, or you thinking that it's should have been this when it should have been that, are the things that actually trip people up and create resistance and create block. Oh, it didn't go this way because humanly I had this whole little vision structured out and it's not going that way. So throw the papers off the desk. I shouldn't be doing it. And you give up on the concept because it didn't go a certain way that you had structured in your human head, because you can't conceptualize something bigger and grander than that. And so you think you're just not supposed to be doing it. And so we give up too soon.
Yeah.
And we don't let it manifest.
Agreed.
And have you ever had this happen? The minute that you give up on it and you change your focus and you start doing something different.
Yesterday.
It comes into full fruition and it becomes something so big and amazing that you never even thought could happen. I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I give up on it. I let go of the resisting perspective that I did it wrong because it didn't look this certain way. So, okay, let me just give up on it and I'm going to chunk it in the virtual trash because I obviously shouldn't have been doing it. And then with a matter of, sometimes 24 hours or a few days, it comes back around in full fruition, bigger and better than it ever was going to be with me humanly trying to steer the boat.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, I guess, what I wanted to expound upon for, just collectively everybody.
Perfect. Perfectly perfect.
There you have it.
Flawed perfection, ladies and gentlemen, at its best. So are you complete?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Hey, guys. Thank you all for listening to us and are rattling on sometimes. I got on my soapbox today, so for those of you that are Dr. Jenny lovers, I apologize for having the mic so long, but I got into a spot there and just kept right on going. And I appreciate you listening.
There's much love for you as well.
Oh, I'm sure. We appreciate you listening. We love you. Don't forget, like, follow, subscribe, share, and don't forget about our social media at the Merck Centers. So you can look us up on social media. Check out our website at themerckcenters.org.
And ring the bell, man.
And ring the bell for
those notifications.
Love y'all.
We love you.
Have an awesome, awesome day.
Journey on.